Welcome back to the City Current Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference and powering the good in our community. And also, too, having important conversations around transportation, technology, economic development, and so much more. We're honored to be joined by our next guest, Gary Rosenfeld. He's the CEO of Memphis Area Transit Authority, affectionately known as MATA. Gary, how are you doing?
I'm great, Jeremy. Thank you for having me on today.
Absolutely. So let's start out. Give us a little bit of scope. When you talk about MATA, numbers, number of teammates, routes, give us some scope, some perspective for MATA.
Sure. We have 29 routes and 3 rail lines, and and some on-demand services, as well as ADA paratransit services. Pre-pandemic, we were serving about 24,000 people a day on average. And since then, that number's down a bit. As you might imagine, transit agencies across the country are experiencing that type of shift in utilization. But we are an integral part of not just enabling people to make connections within the community. We're a vital part of economic development in the community. And most transit systems across the country, well, around the world, every great city around the world has a great transit system. And it's pretty amazing when you get out and about and you spend some time in some of these communities here in the U.S. and places like New York and Washington, where transit is ingrained in the DNA of the community. It's part of the culture, if you will. And then we come to a place like Memphis, and we struggle to attain the necessary funding to be able to provide a world-class transportation system. It puts it into perspective, and the needs of our passengers and the community are no less here than they are in any other community. And it just the understanding from stakeholder groups and stakeholder organizations to be able to come up with the necessary funding.
Talk about that push-pull and the different factors, because as you mentioned, it's funding, but it's also too, it's looking at where do people need to go, jobs, economic development. Like there's a lot of factors, and obviously staffing with COVID and too, that's a whole nother issue. But what are some of those factors that you're having to really look at in terms of putting together the model and making sure that everything is running effectively?
So from the basic transportation aspect of how people have mobility within their community, there's that piece of it, right? And the 4 key principles to that type of transportation are: first, get people to jobs; next, get people to medical appointments if necessary; get people to school; and probably the most important aspect, Jeremy, and the one that is most often overlooked, is get people to recreation. Just going out and about to go to work and the doctor is not much of a life. So we need to ensure that we provide opportunities for a well-balanced life in our community. So that being said, working with different stakeholder groups out there, like the City of Memphis, which has been a major funder of MATA for a long time, and the county coming on board with funding levels that they may be looking to increase over time, it becomes important to coordinate the activities to deliver a product that is available to as many people as possible. Well, that inherently creates problems because our community is spread out the way it is. Typically, a community of our population is about half the geographic size or less than we are right here. And providing high quality services over a large area like this becomes pricey. And it becomes a problem because reliability is the number one thing that passengers are looking for. So it's really important that if we say a bus is going to be there at 9 in the morning, that it actually shows up at 9 in the morning.
When you talk about reliability, talk about weathering the pandemic. And, when you talk about reliability, not knowing if your team is going to be sick, and so having to manage through all of that, how have you been able to manage through kind of the reliability aspect, especially around the pandemic?
Well, early on in the pandemic, we took some important steps to ensure the health and safety of our passengers and our employees. We eliminated fare collection. We moved boarding of the bus to the rear exit, to reduce the number of interactions between the bus operator and the passengers. We put capacity constraints on the vehicles to ensure that there was social distancing. Through time, we added barriers to the driver's compartment to compartmentalize them, keep them a little safer so that we could adjust things on the inside of the bus and provide the passengers with more opportunity, because we took a 60 passenger bus and we were carrying 12 people. So when we were able to finally get the driver a little safer spot, we could increase the number of people. And we certainly increased the cleaning frequency of the buses. In many cases, we were cleaning the buses 2 or 3 times a day in compared to the 1 time a day we did before the pandemic. The same thing at our transit facilities. We instituted social distancing. Rooms were closed. Restrooms were cleaned way more often. Capacity at the restrooms was limited. So we didn't have large groups of people gathering in different places. So we took some pretty extraordinary measures, and we had eliminated some service in the beginning to some areas, but then we brought it all back over time, and we've been able to manage our way through it. Throughout the pandemic, up through like last week, about 185 of our employees had come down with COVID at one time or another. And the good news is that 99% of it traced to activities outside of the workplace, which is great. And we've been unaware of any mass outbreak or any outbreak of passengers getting COVID from the bus. So we're pretty happy with our performance there and in what we've been able to do. But when you take the pandemic, that 185 employees, that's the equivalent of losing 28 employees for a year. And that's a big number. And when you add that on top of a nationwide shortage of commercially licensed drivers that has been going on for many years, that's not something that's new with the pandemic. It's been going on. It's just been exacerbated by the pandemic. And so now we find ourselves like, I think the number that was published within MATA today, that we're 86 positions short right now on a workforce of roughly 550 people. So you see, that's about 15% short of where we need to be in terms of being able to provide that reliable service day in, day out.
Yeah, I think all of this is so important to understand the complexities of what's really going on. And so there's like anything, there's always a lot of different sides that you're having to kind of manage through to be successful. Talk about how you look at routes, and we'll lead into the fall redesign, but how often do you look, how do you redesign the routes, or, kind of take a look at that side in terms of managing to make sure that you're going where you need to go?
Sure, that's a great question. So we have a short range transit plan. You've probably heard it referred to as the Transit Vision. Transit Vision was created as part of the Memphis 3.0 Comprehensive Land Use Plan. The goal was to make sure that we connect residential areas or where people live to work environments so that people could have a way to get to work, and we effectively deploy assets accordingly. So that the Transit Vision is the planning document that we use and strive to implement. Well, the Transit Vision had a price tag when it was released a couple of years ago of $30 million additional cost in providing the level of service that was called for in the Transit Vision. No additional funding has been allocated yet to fund the activities of the Transit Vision. Yet we continue to move in the direction of Transit Vision, trying to get the route network put in place that the Transit Vision called for, and where we can meet the frequency requirements of the Transit Vision as well. Well, in order to do that, we look at a lot of different things. First of all, we look at system redesign 2 or 3 times a year. That's responding to public comment, that's responding to ridership trends, that's responding to any other issue that pops up, within a pandemic or anything else that might affect what type of service we have. So this particular service change that we've done them in, we typically do them in November of each year, and then there'll be at least one in the spring and usually one at the beginning of the summer as well. So this particular one, we're looking at ridership trends. Ridership is something we look at on a daily basis. It is an important key factor in looking at the success of our program. And the transit vision calls for the underperforming routes in the network to be modified to an on-demand or alternative transportation program as compared to the traditional fixed route program. So we started a couple months ago. August 2nd was the start of our on-demand program in the southwest portion of the community. We started up, it serves Boxtown, Westwood, and Whitehaven. And we've had explosive acceptance and growth in this program. We're setting daily records now, 2 records this week on daily transportation on this program. And we are carrying about 10 times the number of people that we carried on the traditional fixed route services there. So we'll be scaling back some of the traditional fixed route in that area, bringing those folks along to the on-demand services, and doing some route reconfiguration of the remaining fixed route services so that there's really only a handful of bus stops that are actually not going to be served anymore. We're also going to expand on demand into North Haven and Fraser. That's the new zone that we'll be serving that area with. And another new zone in the Cordova area, where we had a line 82 that was serving along the Germantown Parkway, didn't carry a lot of people. So we'll put an on-demand service out there and hopefully be able to build some ridership in that corridor. The on-demand program is, it's a wonderful concept. Everybody or so many people use it without even realizing it. If you've ever used an Uber trip or a Lyft or any other shared network service, it's the same principles. The difference is that this is brought to you by the Transit Authority. It's funded by the Transit Authority. And right now it's free, but when we start charging for it, it'll be regular bus fare. It won't be a $30 Uber ride or a $60 Lyft ride or anything like that. The beauty of it is it comes to your door or curb and picks you up, takes you where you want to go within that zone, or it takes you to a connection point where you can connect to the rest of the bus network. And that way you still have access to the entire community. You still have the opportunity to get to a doctor across town or a job at in the other part of the community or anything else like that. And you get the convenience of being able to pick up your phone, call in, request a trip. We'll come pick you up within 20 minutes, take you where you need to go. At the end of your travels, you call us back. We come pick you up and take you back to the curb in front of your house. So it not only provides more opportunities for people in traditionally underserved areas, it brings a higher level of service because we're actually going to the curb in front of your house to pick you up. And this is what people have been enjoying in the form of shared network services and taxis and other services for a long time. We're just bringing it to larger groups of people and expanding people's opportunities. To give you an example, if you're riding a bus and the frequency is every 2 hours, you are planning your day around the bus. With this type of a service where we'll come pick you up in 15 or 20 minutes, you're planning your bus around your day. And those are 2 very, very different positions to be in. We hope that the public recognizes that and recognizes the benefits of that type of approach to mobility.
Absolutely. I mean, you're taking a concierge approach, but you're building in some operational efficiencies by having it zoned where you're in controlled zones. So I love it. And obviously that's where the future is headed. You're taking advantage of that. How does that play in with technology? Because I feel like technology plays a vital role in the future of this as well.
Well, that too is a great question, Jeremy. The technology behind it is an important piece of the puzzle. So MATA has contracted with one of the technology companies that specializes in this type of software. We earlier this year, we launched our Go 901 mobile payment system. You will be able to book these trips through that mobile payment system in the future, so that everything will be a one-stop shop, if you will, for being able to request an on-demand trip, buy a ticket to ride the bus, buy a ticket to ride the trolley, and a whole host of other things that you'll be able to buy via the Go 901 application. The Go 901 application has also enjoyed tremendous growth. The number of accounts created is going up by about 3% a week, which is 3% a week is huge growth. We're beating it with the on-demand service, but nonetheless, 3% of growth in accounts created on a weekly basis is amazing. So we estimate right now that we're at about 60% penetration of all of our passengers, and which is really important because so very often, Jeremy, we hear in our community about a digital divide. And what this is telling us is that the digital divide is getting narrower. And we put Wi-Fi on board our buses at the end of last year. We're processing 9 to 12 million requests through the Wi-Fi system on a monthly basis. So not only do people really like having it on there, they're using it. And we put it on there because we knew that the Go 901 app was coming and we wanted people to be able to use it. People had been telling us about this digital divide, which it does exist. It's not completely taken care of, but it is a much narrower. And we like to believe that it's because 9 to 12 million requests are going through the Wi-Fi system on the buses. Another few million are going through the Wi-Fi systems at our transit centers. And we are meeting the needs of transit passengers in Memphis and providing them not just mobility, but opportunity through access to the internet and other items available online.
Yeah. Give me one more thing that you wish everyone knew about MATA.
I wish that everybody would understand that investment in transit and transportation infrastructure delivers huge returns for communities. It almost enough to pay for itself over time. And it is one of my counterparts in one of our peer cities indicate you don't build a $2 billion light rail system to move 17,000 people. You build a $2 billion light rail system to move 17,000 people and for the $20 billion worth of private sector investment that comes behind it. Case in point, we have, I hope you're familiar with our BRT project that we are working on right now. It will connect downtown Memphis with the University of Memphis. It'll travel out Union to Poplar Avenue and on to the university. In that corridor, since the time that route was selected and advertised, there has already been close to $3 billion worth of investment in that corridor. Okay, we haven't turned the first shovel of dirt yet in physically on the project yet, but already there's been $3 billion. Now the cost of the project will probably be in the $80 to $85 million range when it's done. We have to build, 16 or 18 stations. We have to buy electric buses, which cost about $1 million a piece. There's plenty of investment yet to be done to drive this. But if we're already at $3 billion, that's a really good return on $85 million worth of worth of transportation investment. And as you go around the country and go around the world, where things like this happen, the investment is huge. And Memphis has been lucky through the years to have some growth, some investment. But if we were to invest heavily in public transportation infrastructure, I believe we can drive all that much more growth. And let's face it, communities are either growing or not. And you want to be part of a community that's growing as compared to going the other direction.
Yeah, it goes back to the economic development that we were talking about at the onset and just that ripple effect, which is huge. How can we help? Because when you talk about, job opportunities, obviously getting the word out there to help you on the staffing side, just getting the word out about the on-demand services and the innovation, what are some ways that we can help?
Well, from a media perspective, we truly appreciate you helping us tell the story and getting the word out there. There's no shortage of people that when they hear about it, get very excited about it. We have some great support in Beverly Robertson, for example, at the Memphis Chamber, and some of the Chairman Circle members are very eager to see this type of growth. Our community leaders are as well. And I think that one of the things that we need to do is bring them all together and aim them in the same direction so that we all are working towards the common goal. I don't get involved, on a day-to-day basis on where the bus goes. My main focus is making sure that we have a bus network and that the bus network can feed into something bigger and better. The Ford opportunity in Stanton finally brings together the level of density that we've been telling the community we need to be able to justify a larger investment in public transportation. Well, we shouldn't fritter this away. So we really need to make sure that we all get onto the same sheet of music and be working towards the common goal again, it's all about creating opportunities for people.
Yeah. Wrap up with contact information. So mention the website, social media, phone number. Where do you want everyone to go to learn more about Memphis Area Transit Authority?
Well, www.matatransit.com for general information. matatransit.com/careers for jobs. We got all these jobs that are open. matatransit.com/ready for information on the on-demand programs that are coming. And go901.com for information on the mobile payment options and future opportunities to order on-demand services via our app.
Nice. Well, Gary, greatly appreciate all you and your team are doing. Thank you for coming on the show.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much, Jeremy. Good to see you.